I hope by undertaking research focusing in sustainable development, we will be able to create change as part of a continuous improvement process.
Recognize the work of healthcare and life science scientists and organizations who contribute to innovative healthcare solutions.
I hope participants will continue their efforts in showcasing their hard work, find a product, and meet potential partners.
We are growing too fast. We walk fast. We eat fast. Though we have 24 hours in a day, somehow we share the same feelings. Time is passing so fast. We don't have enough time for ourselves until busy is the new norm in our life. But if you can turn back the clock, what good shall you do today? Let's put life back. We need the past to enlighten the present and the future. We need education. Through education, it reconnects you with the purpose of life. Reconnect with family and people. Reconnect with nature and habitat. Reconnect with unity and harmony. Reconnect with spirituality and peace.
اقرأ باسم ربك الذي خلق.
Reconnect with good health and well-being. To create balance, UITM nurtures Buddhi in education and embraced it as values in life. A concept of social relationships. A philosophy and culture of politeness, reasoning and wisdom among Malaysians. UITM upholds Buddhi for sustainable community. Education reconnects you with the universe. Reconnect your world with UITM.
In the quest to search for knowledge and insights, diving deep for ideas to gain prominence, be they the scientists, teachers, accountants, entrepreneurs, engineers, artists, managers, lifesavers, mothers and fathers. Let us be a trusted companion. As we achieve excellence holistically, because we believe in nurturing our future talents, we endure sowing the seeds for a sustainable tomorrow. We harness your capabilities. We take steps and stances to broaden our knowledge and experience. We want to be the champion to uphold mankind's universal values, to encourage a deeper understanding of sustainability. We dare to be different. We instill values. We cherish the diversity, where science and arts complement each other. We go boldly set the scene, steal the show, think out of the box, and set our sights. Walk far and wide. We dedicate ourselves to all our passion, to nurture the courage in all of us. We lead.
UCSI University has come a long way since 1986 as a Praxis University. Today, UCSI is ranked at the top 300 university in the world, rising steadily every year, reaching the rank of 284 in the year 2023. In the same year, UCSI became the only university in the world to receive the QS Recognition for Improvement Award, having improved by the most ranks in average. UCSI programs are ranked among the world's best in music and performing arts, hospitality, engineering, business management, art and design, social sciences, and medicine. As a Praxis University, our students are exposed to a wide learning experience. Thousands of corporate partners offer internship and work exposure to UCSI every year, enabling our students to apply what they learned in the classrooms to be practiced at the workplace. They give the students opportunities to work and learn. This resulted in our graduates attaining 100% employability score in all our programs. One of the hallmarks of being a UCSI student is the research attachment opportunity at world-leading universities at the undergraduate level, enabling them to publicize remarkable papers at the world stage. opportunity to study abroad, whether for a year or two, or for a short term of a few months, prepare our students the global outlook that the world needs today. Preparing as leaders for tomorrow, the students are exposed to real leaders today, from academics and economics, to social concern and topics on sustainability. Our students are set for the challenges today, and the future. UCSI offers the largest fields of study in a Malaysian private university, whether in championing healthcare and medicine and pharmacy, impacting research and discoveries in applied sciences, applying skills and intelligence in engineering, influencing communication and social sciences, igniting the passion and creativity in arts and design, setting the global pace in hospitality and tourism, transforming architecture and built environment, celebrating with music and performance, excelling in the changing demand of the business world, or digitizing the world in computing and innovation. UCSI continues to serve with scholarships, producing tens of thousands of practitioners and young leaders from more than 110 nationalities. Beside its current main campus in Kuala Lumpur, and other campuses in Kuching and Spring Hill, UCSI has earmarked its Kuala Lumpur campus to expand as an edu city with 35,000 student capacity with various state-of-the-art facilities. Our students are the real stars of UCSI. They achieve and excel in the national and international stage. Driven with the passion to contribute, they prove their quality, participating in various events and attaining many successes. UCSI enables them to make the mark for themselves, build their own reputation, and create a brand for themselves to face the exciting world ahead of them. Every year, our medical students advance their undergraduate medical research at the Harvard Medical School. Others made the engineering impact at the Imperial College London, at Queensland, Australia, and Tsinghua, China. While some set their pharmaceutical legacy at University of Chicago and British Columbia. These are some of our students who have benefited from our Star Trek to the world's best universities. The world is changing, and they are at the forefront. The needs are evolving, we continuously confront. UCSI, a Praxis University.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our knowledge sharing session. We hope you'll enjoy the next webinar. Thank you for joining us.
Greetings to all the participants of the COVID-19 and Advanced Healthcare and Life Sciences International Innovation Awards in the Malaysia Technology Expo 2022. I am Chong Jo Lin, a medical doctor and public health medicine specialist from the Institute for Public Health. I currently lead the Center for Communicable Disease Epidemiology Research here. I feel honored to be given a chance to share with you the role of our institute in the COVID-19 pandemic in Malaysia. Institut Kesihatan Umum is more fondly called IKU in Malaysia, which means Institute for Public Health in English. We trace our root back to the Royal Sanitary Institute that trained health inspectors pre-independence in Singapore. Since 1959, the Health Inspector Training School was established in Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, to continue with the training. In 1966, this school was renamed Maktab Kesihatan Umum, or College for Public Health, and relocated to the Federal Hill in Bangsar to train health inspectors and other public health workers who would recognize this iconic mural at our entrance that showcases the daily lives of various communities in Malaysia that we aim to contribute towards. In 2005, we became a full-fledged research institute under the National Institutes of Health, NIH Malaysia, which is overseen by the Research and Technical Support Program, Ministry of Health, Malaysia. Our transition from training to research was gradual. Our predecessor started to conduct research in infectious diseases and health system since 1969. Hence, the change in name from college to institute in 1970. But our flagship National Health and Morbidity Survey only came in 1986, when Malaysia realized that we need representative population health data to strategically plan for our population health. We now conduct an HMS yearly with different focus to provide timely data in this fast-changing world. In addition, we also conduct various other population health studies, burden of disease, interventional studies, and so on. In 2019, we moved from Bangsar into the NIH complex at Setia Alam, which also houses our sister institutes, the Institute for Medical Research IMR, Institute for Clinical Research ICR, Institute for Health System Research IHSR, Institute for Health Behavioral Research IPTK, and Institute for Health Management IHM. My sharing today will focus more on the role IKU plays in the pandemic that are directly relevant. My other colleagues in IKU have many good projects that focus on the side effects of the pandemic like nutrition, mental health, excess mortality, and so on. I also have to skip what other NIH institutes did or are still doing, like the Institute for Medical Research with its laboratory-related projects, the Institute for Clinical Research with its clinical trials, which were featured in many publicly available platforms and also chronicled in reports produced by the Institute for Health System Research, which is also available to the general public. So this is the main outline of my presentation. And this is an overview of the pandemic timeline and the temporality of IKU's work in relation to it. We will start first with the mobilization to support the front line in early 2020 and continue with various studies we conducted to support Malaysia in this pandemic. Malaysia reported its first imported cluster of cases on 25th January 2020, when two families who were on a vacation with our neighbor took a site tour to visit a theme park in the south of Malaysia. In early February 2020, we had our first Malaysian COVID-19 patient who passed it on to his sister during New Year celebration. In late February 2020, we reported our first workplace cluster in Klang Valley that involved many patients in Selangor State, in particular the district of Petaling. In March, IKU began sending officers and support staff to the Petaling District Health Office and later to the Selangor State Health Department, the Crisis Preparedness and Response Center, and some other places. As with all places that encounter COVID-19 for the first time, there were great needs. The primary team already had the system in place from the verification of notified cases to case investigation and admission for isolation, contact tracing and quarantine, testing, monitoring, and so on. But they need huge human, material, and logistics resources. While we help manually in the case investigation and epidemiological linkage, contact tracing and management resources management, and so on, our main focus there was to simplify data capture, automate data management, analysis, and visualization. Secondarily, we network with our MOH colleagues to share our experience with COVID-19. Our outputs can never match what the district health officers did. They are the actual frontliners that had given their lives to prevent and control the spread of COVID-19 on the ground. Because we can't be there with them forever, we tried our best to lighten their burden by organizing and automating some of their processes. We managed to produce forms for contact tracing and case investigation. The team then adapted the case investigation form to standardize the submission for all districts in the Selangor state to produce a dashboard with real-time charts and Our team then adapted the case investigation form to standardize the submission for all districts in the Selangor state to produce a dashboard with real-time charts and epidemic curve for each district and the whole state. We also managed to publish 6 papers together with our MOH colleagues from the federal down to the district levels to share MOH experience in managing the first imported, the first local transmission, and the first workplace clusters in Malaysia, and also to describe the epidemiology and clinical pictures of more than 1,000 first cases in Selangor, and determine the factors associated with COVID-19 asymptomatic cases and severe outcomes. But the really amazing thing was the way the general public reached out to help by providing personal protective equipment, even thousand upon thousand of handmade face shields. Some of the supplies were known to be in need back then, but we never knew we would need phones and SIM cards to investigate cases and trace contacts. And back then, when we were busy working and restaurants were closed or partially open, catering food became very essential and was offered and sent to us daily. Next, let's move to the COVID-19 seroprevalence study among the general population in Malaysia that IKU conducted together with NHMS 2020. By April 2020, we started seeing evidence that COVID-19 could be asymptomatic. Due to this, and the fact that mild COVID-19 that might also be missed or misdiagnosed, we expect COVID-19 to be under-detected or under-reported. However, a person infected with COVID-19 would produce antibodies detectable by blood tests. The percentage of a population previously infected with COVID-19 or its seroprevalence can inform us the actual spread of the pandemic in Malaysia. It tells us the effectiveness of our current disease prevention and control measures, and informs us how many people are still susceptible or can be infected. By interviewing them about their previous diagnosis and symptoms, we can also know the percentage of undetected and asymptomatic infections among those with previous COVID-19. Coincidentally, NHMS 2020 was initially planned for communicable diseases and was the first NHMS to focus on this topic. But still, conducting a national survey during a pandemic requires more consideration of the risks and benefits. On how we can minimize the risk to the participants and maximize the benefits to them and the society. To conduct a COVID-19 seroprevalence study alongside NHMS 2020 was obviously a very natural and logical decision, as it was beneficial to the society. To make it useful for comparison with other countries, we adapted the WHO Unity Protocol and received support from the WHO. We also received help from the state health departments in data collection and the IMR for laboratory tests. Another study conducted alongside NHMS 2020 was a facial anthropometric study to develop respirator fit test panel for Malaysia population by our colleagues in IMR. Basically, this project mapped the faces of our population to ensure the industry makes masks or respirators that fit better to our faces to help us better prevent respiratory infectious diseases in the future, including COVID-19. Other existing studies in the NHMS 2020 included hepatitis B and C seroprevalence studies. On top of benefits to the society, they also act as a health screening for the participants, providing them knowledge of their own status and referral for treatment when applicable. Providing them knowledge of their own status and referral for treatment where applicable. Eventually, NHMS 2020 would provide Malaysia data crucial in the control of various infectious diseases. IKU reduced risk or the chances of COVID-19 transmission and infection by halving the number of participants from our original plan, thereby reducing the number of data collectors and the duration needed. After cutting down the time our participants had to spend with us significantly by collecting most of our data without direct contact with them, we further reduce it by training our data collectors not just on COVID-19 prevention, but also to be efficient like our experienced phlebotomists. Although our team members receive pre-training or pre-deployment and periodic COVID-19 screening tests, we still ensured that they practice strict SOP during the data collection. So, COVID-19 seroprevalence study in Malaysia among the general population was a cross-sectional study, one of the most common study designs out there. Meaning, we took a sample of the whole population and collected data one time from each of them. The data collection lasted from 7th August to 11th October 2020, between Wave 2 and Wave 3 on the COVID-19 epidemic curve in Malaysia, when we had a low COVID-19 incidence. We sampled our participants this way. Firstly, we randomly selected 113 locations called enumeration blocks, which were enlisted by the Department of Statistics in Malaysia. At each location, we randomly selected 20 houses to visit. For COVID-19 seroprevalence study, we recruited every individual aged 1 year and above. A total of 5,135 people volunteered or were permitted by parents or guardians to participate and had their blood taken and tested at the virology laboratory in IMR to detect the presence of SARS-CoV-2 total binding antibody, and if positive, to also test for neutralizing antibody. We found low COVID-19 seroprevalence among the general population in Malaysia from 7th August to 11th October 2020. At 0.62% for binding antibodies, indicating potential previous exposure to the virus, and 0.49% for neutralizing antibodies, possibly indicating presence of protective immunity against SARS-CoV-2 at that point of time. Adults were significantly more likely to be infected due to higher mobility. Majority of previous infected population were undiagnosed and asymptomatic. We now continue with BLOOM, the COVID-19 seroprevalence study among blood donors in Malaysia. As soon as IKU completed the data collection for the seroprevalence study among the general population, Malaysia began to see a third wave of COVID-19 spread on the epidemic curve that lasted until February 2021. We also started our mass vaccination program since the end of February 2021. A repeated COVID-19 seroprevalence study was necessary to monitor the percentage of population that might have some form of immunity, whether through infection or vaccination. A more efficient way of doing this is using residual blood donor samples. Although blood donors consist of healthy general adult population aged 18 and above in Malaysia, they are a good proxy to the general population. Every pint of blood they donate undergo screening for blood-borne infections. Balance or residual specimens are discarded after the screening. In many countries, these residual specimens are regularly used to survey on other infectious diseases such as COVID-19. So we did the same too by designing BLOOM with the National Blood Center and its affiliates, with support again from the WHO and IMR. BLOOM was performed exactly 1 year after the previous study, from 26 July to 17 October 2021. There were 12 weeks between these dates, and we broke them into 6 cycles, each being one cross-sectional study. Since we always select the specimen from the current pool of blood donors in every subsequent cycle and not from the past donors retrospectively, this was a prospective, repeated, cross-sectional study. So, the National Blood Center and all its regional affiliates, in total 13 sites, less than the number of states and territories in Malaysia, since 2 of the smallest ones sent their specimens to the neighboring states, would each randomly select up to 250 samples in every 2-week cycle. This total up to 3,250 samples nationwide per cycle. And in totality for the whole 6 cycles, we had 19,380 samples. The blood centers de-identified these samples, and we tested them for the total binding antibodies we used in the previous seroprevalence study among the general population. in IMR. We found that the COVID-19 seroprevalence 1 year later, in 2021, correlates well and were generally slightly higher than the at least one dose vaccination rate around the same period of time. These estimates increase gradually in line with the vaccination and the continuous spread of COVID-19 in Malaysia, and it reached close to 100% in the final cycle. Finally, we will learn about, I'm sure, the post-vaccination COVID-19 immunity surveillance in Malaysia that was conducted around the same time as Bloom until now. While IKU was still conducting the NHMS 2020, the government of Malaysia was planning the COVID-19 National Immunization Program. As vaccine efficacy and availability were not guaranteed, Malaysia hedged in our vaccination program by diversifying our vaccine sources and aimed to vaccinate as many and as quickly as possible with whatever approved vaccines we could get. Since not all COVID-19 vaccines we could use were previously compared side by side in any population in the world on their degree and duration of protection against COVID-19 after vaccination, which would be important later on in deciding whether a booster is needed, when it is needed, and which vaccine should be made the booster, Malaysia needs to generate local evidence on our own. For that, we could either conduct a vaccine effectiveness study or an immunogenicity study. A vaccine effectiveness study compares the number of outcomes we want the vaccines to protect from, like infection, severe diseases, and deaths, between the vaccinated and unvaccinated groups, to see the degree of reduction over time. So this kind of study is easily understood and applicable and can be quicker and more affordable to conduct, provided that we have good quality secondary data. We also need a control group like the unvaccinated group, vaccinated with just one dose, or vaccinated with other vaccines to compare with. But if for whatever reason the outcome measurement would differ between any of these groups, and the difference cannot be measured, for example, the groups had unequal risk of exposure to the infection, they did not have the same chance to get tested, or if they did the test themselves, but there were variations in the procedures, result interpretation, and reporting, the resulting biases would be difficult to adjust for, and the effectiveness estimates could become less accurate. Alternatively, we could conduct an extended immunogenicity study by following vaccinated people over time to measure their immune response towards COVID-19 vaccination. Instead of measuring disease as an outcome like in an effectiveness study, immunogenicity study measures immune response as its outcome, or seroconversion, which means no evidence of immune response before vaccination to its presence after, or presence of immune response before to stronger response after. Since immunogenicity study is a primary study where we collect new data ourselves, we have more control on its design and data quality. The immune response measurement can be standardized and performed for all vaccine recipients equally in a controlled environment, and the biases are usually biological and known and can be more easily adjusted. But the issue with immunogenicity study is that it requires huge amount of human resources over an extended period of time, therefore more costly to conduct. And since COVID-19 is a new infectious disease, we do not yet have the immunological correlate of protection or the level of immune response above which we can confidently say a person is protected. So the study results have to be cautiously interpreted and applied. Without the correlate of protection, at personal level, the result might not be too meaningful as it can be affected by the timing of tests and other factors. And if the result is qualitative in nature, meaning just a presence or absence of immune response, then it is even less useful to the individual who tests it. On the contrary, if we can quantify, for example, the concentration of certain antibody at the population level, we can provide a meaningful comparison between recipients of different vaccines at similar time points or among recipients of the same vaccine over time. The truth is, COVID-19 vaccine effectiveness and immunogenicity studies each has their own advantages and limitations. But when interpreted together, they provide a fuller guidance to our COVID-19 booster policy on when to give one, to whom should we give one to, and which vaccine should we use. So, the ICR took on the immunogenicity study among the healthcare workers who received Pfizer, the vigilance study, and the vaccine effectiveness study in Malaysia, the RECOAM study. IKU conducts, I'm sure, the post-vaccination COVID-19 immunity surveillance in Malaysia. I'm sure is a prospective multi-arm cohort study. It means we recruited recipients of different vaccines or arms before they even receive vaccination and then followed them up over time into the future. At least 2,600 volunteers participated. We had at least 600 adults in each vaccine category, that is Pfizer, Sinovac, AstraZeneca, and CanSino. There were also more than 150 adolescent Pfizer recipients. Our participants came from 7 states across East to West Malaysia and were initially recruited before receiving their first dose of vaccination from 22 vaccination centers and vaccination drives. And then they were followed up before their second dose, if any, or 14 days after CanSino, the only single-dose vaccine used in Malaysia, and on vaccination completion date defined in Malaysia as 14 days after the second dose or 28 days after the single-dose vaccine. After that, the participants were visited every subsequent 3 months from the first dose of their vaccination. That is, at 3, 6, 9, 12 months up to 2 years. We tested their blood specimens mainly on neutralizing antibodies towards SARS-CoV-2 spike protein and T-cell response. The findings of EMSURE up to now generally agreed with similar studies around the world and were reflected in our COVID-19 booster policy to date. EMSURE was the first cohort study conducted by IKU and the first immunogenicity at that. With uncertainties in global vaccine development, approval, procurement, and supply, there were huge uncertainties in the COVID-19 national immunization program. And back then, we were also faced with unpredictable movement control orders. We waited for directives, approvals to access vaccination centers, to get funding. We had to comply with strict procedures that took months to obtain human resources, materials, and supplies we need. All these uncertainties pose huge logistical challenges to EMSURE greater than the technical difficulties. For the technical part, we had the Disease Control Division at the federal level and the Infectious Disease and Allergy and Immunology Research Centers in IMR as our collaborators. We have a long list of entities consisted of different ministries, state health departments, district health officers, public health clinics, private hospital and clinic chains, university, various development and law enforcement authorities, NGOs, local communities, and colleagues within NIH and IKU that help facilitate for EMSURE. Without their help, this study would not be logistically possible to be carried out. In summary, COVID-19 pandemic is beyond any of the nations, beyond any of us within Malaysia. To overcome it, a whole society approach is essential, where each entity that comprises a society functions in our best capacity to fulfill our roles and contributes to the cause. The role IKU can play is research and technical support, particularly among the general population. The mobilization and population research are but a small drop in the scheme of all things, or a spinning gear in a big machinery. We can successfully beat the pandemic only if we work together with each other at any levels of network and connection, be it individual or global. The Malaysia Technology Expo serves as such an excellent platform to showcase different COVID-19 and advanced healthcare and life sciences innovations by gathering talents from all over the world. For that, I am really thankful to MTE organizer for this opportunity to present to all of you, and thank you for your kind attention to my sharing.